The first month of 2020 has come to a close, and although there weren't a whole bunch of Switch games to come out, there were a handful of juicy rumors. I'm going to review and tell you what those rumors are, where they came from, and what they mean for Nintendo in 2020, and how likely I think they are to be true. Which, spoiler alert, I think they're all true, because I want them to be true? Okay, not really. I mean, kinda. You just have to watch the video and find out. And then I want to hear from all of you and what you think of all this. Thanks for watching. I'm Shibby120. For more Switch discussions, news and reviews, hit that subscribe button and remember to tap the bell icon so you don't miss any notifications. Let's go. The games and ports we have seen on the Nintendo Switch are amazing for this little console. The Witcher 3, Doom, Wolfenstein 2, and don't forget, Breath of the Wild, with its amazing graphics and effects, is a Wii U port. We really haven't even seen what the Switch can do for an open world Zelda game yet. More on that later. Our first rumors on the list from 2020 have to do with third-party games, and let's just get this one right out of the way. BioShock the Collection has been rated for Nintendo Switch in Taiwan by the Taiwanese rating board. The rating can be found on their site. All three games are listed individually for Switch, but there's also a rating for the collection. No release dates or anything else are listed. Now, the game's publisher, 2K, recently announced the opening of a new studio called Cloud Chamber, which will supposedly be working specifically on a new BioShock game. So, could this be a way for them to revitalize the franchise in preparation of a new game? I think this is very likely. It sounds like this is definitely coming to Switch. We don't know the year, but I would speculate 2020 is it. BioShock was first released in 2007, followed by BioShock 2 in 2010, and then BioShock Infinite in 2013. Then in 2016, the remastered BioShock Collection was released on consoles. These games are really special to me. They speak to my soul. If you know the games, you understand. If you haven't played them, they are a must play. If you like engaging dystopian story, environmental storytelling, twists, turns, chills, and linear games from a first-person shooter perspective, you absolutely have to play these games, and you absolutely have to get this collection if it comes to Switch. No more questions, no more comments, just do it. This collection is truly one of a kind, and it's a very important piece of gaming history. I'm a little unique in that I played the third game before I played the first one. It had just come out when my friend suggested the game to me, so I had to check it out. It's a lot more story-driven, action-packed, and mainstream than the other games, so really I can't complain that it was my first one to jump into. It's still dark and dystopian, but the other two games are more so. Ken Levine is the mastermind behind these games, and due to his lack of involvement in BioShock 2, a lot of people discredit that game. For this reason, I went into it expecting complete crap, but I was pleasantly surprised. BioShock 2 is an awesome game. It's super solid, the big sisters are awesome, I don't regret any of the BioShock games, they're amazing. I've been saying they need to put this on Switch, I've been saying it. I know that the first game was available on iOS years and years ago, so I'm 100% confident that a solid port to the Nintendo Switch is highly possible.
Bring us the girl and wipe away the dead.
The other big third-party rumor that came out happened right at the beginning of the year. Apparently, a listing for a Switch version of Red Dead Redemption 2 was spotted on the site of Hong Kong-based reseller Instant Gaming, complete with box art with a Switch logo and a 2020 release date. However, it's not unheard of for third-party online resellers to make placeholders for games that don't actually exist. But I mean, come on, if The Witcher 3 can be on Switch, Red Dead Redemption can be on Switch. There is horse riding in that game, there's trees and characters and stuff, it's open world, it's basically the same, right? It looks kind of similar. I mean, it's not the first time that Nintendo Switch has had support by Rockstar. LA Noire is an excellent game and a great port on Switch. It's hard to believe that Red Dead came out in 2018, but that does mean they've had some time to work on optimization. Now, of course, like any rumor, take this with a grain of salt. The website Instant Gaming has had incorrect listings before. In the past, there have been listings such as a Banjo-Kazooie remake for Steam that we never saw, and a Metroid Prime trilogy that still hasn't happened. And they currently have a listing for the game Bully 2, which has yet to come out or be confirmed. So it's not like this website has never had incorrect information. However, Target in Australia did also have Red Dead listed as being for Switch, which also could have been an error, but I still think this port is possible, especially if we do end up seeing a new version of Switch. But you also need to think of how much space this game needs. If you think about The Witcher 3 on console, the base game was 50 gigabytes. CD Projekt Red was able to fit all of that, plus all the DLC, onto a 32 gigabyte cartridge, so we know miracles can happen. Plus, keep in mind it's a downgrade to graphics and performance, so that should allow for a smaller size due to compressing assets. However, Red Dead Redemption is about 100 gigabytes, so they would have to make it a big download, which would be pretty awkward since the Switch itself only comes with 32 gigabyte storage on the console without a micro SD card. The other option for Red Dead on Switch is for them to squeeze all of that game into a 64 gigabyte cartridge. That sounds really exciting, that sounds really doable, but keep in mind The Witcher 3 was the first Switch game in North America to use a 32 gigabyte cartridge, probably because of cost. So what do you think the chances are that companies will start using super expensive 64 gigabyte cartridges? Well, maybe in the world of Switch Pro, that's just standard. Which brings me to the next rumor. It seems like every year since the launch of Nintendo Switch, there have been rumors of a Nintendo Switch Pro, a console that's entirely made up and may not even exist. However, there are some pretty strong sources that suddenly brought back these Nintendo Switch Pro rumors as soon as the year turned 2020. Rumors were swirling around all month until January 30th, when Nintendo officially stated that outside the Animal Crossing Switch, there would not be a new Nintendo Switch model in 2020. However, this is not going to stop the rumors. The Switch Pro could still be a thing. It could come out next year. Nintendo could be lying about it not coming out this year, but that's highly unlikely because this was an official statement made at an investors meeting. The most hopeful rumor came from DigiTimes. They were one of the first to actually confirm last year that Nintendo would be releasing another Switch with upgraded battery in 2019, as well as the rumors of Nintendo Switch Lite. Both of those came true, so the fact that they're talking about the Switch Pro now definitely does carry some weight. That's why everyone was getting hyped. They made the bold claim that Nintendo was definitely planning a new Switch model to be released in the middle of the year and that production would begin in March 2020. This was also backed up by analyst Dr. Serkan Toto, who stated that a Switch Pro would come out this year with beefed up specs and 4K support. This is a really big year for graphics and performance when it comes to gaming. You've got the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 releasing toward the end of the year. If they don't do a Switch Pro this year, this is going to make the Switch that more behind when it comes to power. Although, power is not what the Switch is known for outside of its first-party Nintendo games. But it is known for what else? Ports. Ports, ports, and ports. Now, the good news is Microsoft is saying that for at least a full year, Xbox won't have any games coming to the new console that aren't going to be also coming out for the Xbox One. That is to say, Nintendo can buy themselves some time because they won't truly have to worry about competing with Xbox Series X games until holiday 2021 at least. For the first year of these new consoles, the games that will come out for them will also come out on last gen. That means that's another year that Nintendo won't be too behind if they don't do a Switch Pro this year. I will say though, the chip that Nintendo is running on right now is pretty dated. And the newest rumor says that a Nintendo Switch Pro will not be utilizing the Tegra X1 Plus chip, but will instead make use of new custom NVIDIA processors with the GPU based on Volta architecture. architecture, 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 architecture. I still really don't think that 4K is a big deal, and I really don't think that the new Nintendo Switch, when there is one, if there is one, will run 4K. I think the next step in console gaming is all about performance, frame rate, load times, and graphics. I believe these are going to be the issues that Nintendo is going to be trying to solve, and I believe that would be the smart move for them. Frame rate and performance over resolution all day, any day. This also aligns with the latest rumor that says Switch Pro will not have 4K. Also, please keep in mind it's very likely that it won't be called Switch Pro. And also remember, there's also a possibility that this will just be a new iteration of the Switch that doesn't even have any significant bump to performance whatsoever. And there's also the possibility that we won't see anything next year either. I mean, how many people were wrong when they said that a Switch Pro is coming out in 2019? That's why these are called rumors. Heck, all of these supposed leaks could have actually just been that Animal Crossing Switch this whole time. You also have to remember that the Nintendo Switch does not directly compete with Xbox and PlayStation, so they are unique in that they have an advantage. They know this, and that's why all of the first-party Nintendo games have cartoon graphics. However, this does not mean that Nintendo doesn't have to keep up with the times in order to stay relevant, because they do. Switch Pro is unlikely in 2020, but I can't rule it out completely. A part of me is still hanging on to this thing. Please, Nintendo. Please be liars. Dirty, dirty liars. Just this once. What do you think? Do you think Nintendo's lying about this? I mean, last year, they did say there was not going to be a Nintendo Switch Lite at E3 2019. Now, that technically wasn't a lie because it wasn't at E3, but it did come out. So there's a possibility they could be leading people on, but I doubt they would do that at an investors meeting. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Also, maybe you don't even really care. Do you care if they make a Switch Pro? I know some people just don't really care. You know, maybe you're all about that Animal Crossing Switch. Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear from you. The final rumors for the beginning of 2020 have to do with first-party games. And this is all coming from Sabi on Twitter, new_wabi-sabi, who says there will be a 2D Metroid game related to Metroid Fusion, which was a highly regarded Game Boy Advance game that came out in 2002, and says that we will see a Paper Mario game that will be, quote, going back to how it was. He says he is not skeptical at all about Paper Mario. He's heard from multiple sources, and it's coming out this year. On top of this, his tweets also hint at a new Mario Kart game to be coming out this holiday season. Now, if you're not familiar with Sabi, this is someone who has established themselves as a fairly reliable source of information, so reliable that they received a cease and desist letter from Nintendo last year. Apparently a journalist for a couple different outlets. So let's talk about Paper Mario. If this rumor is not true, this is just cruelty. Whoever started this rumor, it's just cruel because I know the fan base hasn't been happy with the last few games. I know I haven't loved it since the original game on Nintendo 64, which was an awesome game, and a sequel to the SNES game Super Mario RPG. Paper Mario was so cool, the battles were so fun, it was just cool to see Mario in an RPG atmosphere for the first time. Getting different abilities and leveling up and customizing the playstyle. I remember borrowing it from my friend. Maybe it's just the nostalgia here, but it was so cool. I think Nintendo does have a huge opportunity here to make this game a hit and really knock it out of the park. If they do this right, I think they can get people who don't play RPGs to like RPGs. I'm telling you, if this is a solid game, I'm definitely going to be into this one. In addition to Sabi, a user named Zippy on Reset Era, or Resetera, also stated that Paper Mario would be coming back, not a remake, and that it would be returned to form. Now, it's possible that this was the origin of the rumor, and then Wabi Sabi decided to claim it as well. They did both post these really close within each other. Nobody really knows, but I'm definitely keeping my eye on this rumor. I really hope it's true. And I really think it could be, just based on the fact that last year there were rumors going around saying that there was going to be a popular Mario game coming out in 2020. But only time will tell. As for the Metroid rumor, well, a 2D Metroid game has been rumored for the Switch for a couple years now. Some were speculating it was going to be a remake of the SNES classic Super Metroid. Honestly, if they did that, it would be really cool if they gave it the Link's Awakening treatment. I loved playing Super Metroid, and it was wild how much that old game is like newer games on Switch. If they just cleaned it up a bit and added a couple features to make it not so hard or gave us difficulty options, that would be great. But if Sabi is right and this is actually a new 2D Metroid, that would honestly be even better. Switch has too many ports. Metroid started an entire genre of games along with Castlevania. Now, Metroidvania games are huge on Switch. I personally think this would be the perfect time for Nintendo to jump in and show them how it's done. Make a new Metroid game and show them the real deal. That being said, it's going to be harder now because with all of your Hollow Knights, Ori and the Blind Forests, Axiom Verges, and everything else, the competition is a lot tougher these days. But that would just make it that more awesome if Nintendo does a solid job on a new 2D Metroid. As for Metroid Prime 4, I think that comes out next year. We will see. If we don't hear anything about it this year, I'd say it's a 2022 game. Rumor is there are 3 games, and honestly, I just can't see them all coming out close to each other. Unless they did like a Metroid Fusion this spring, Metroid Prime Trilogy early fall, and then Prime 4 in the fall of 2021. I can't see Prime 4 coming too close to Prime Trilogy. Not within months of each other. At least for me, that would tarnish the Prime 4 experience. I know some people like to play games leading up to the game. For me, I like to just go right into the new game and have all the excitement of having not played that kind of game in a long time. Just like Breath of the Wild, I'm not going to touch that game this year. I don't want to tarnish the Breath of the Wild 2 experience. You know what I mean? Is anyone else like that, or is it just me? Maybe I'm super weird. I know I am. And speaking of Breath of the Wild 2, I'm going to go ahead and predict this game comes out fall 2020 and that we see it at E3. Unless they need to do more work on it. In that case, keep working on it. Maybe that's why Nintendo says no new Switch this year. Maybe they were planning on it coming out with Breath of the Wild 2 this year in the fall, but it secretly got delayed. What do you think? Let us know your 2020 predictions in the comments below. As for Switch Pro, I don't think we see one until next year, if ever, because I don't think Nintendo is lying, but who knows? They were pretty tight-lipped about Nintendo Switch Lite last year. And speaking of Switch Lite, if you haven't seen my unboxing of Nintendo Switch Lite in comparison to the regular Switch, click that box on your screen, or click the other box for a different video, and I'll see you over there. Please remember to like my video and subscribe for more content.